Hey everybody, Axe Wizard here. Just wanted to make a video about a product that I recently got, and I've been loving it. It took me about 4 weekends with my kids to finish the adventure that comes in the Pathfinder Second Edition Beginner Box, and this is awesome. I paid like $30 for it on Amazon. I originally got this because my YouTube feed started filling up with everybody talking about the open game license drama that was going on with Wizards of the Coast, basically wanting to change an open license that everyone and their mother has been using, including Pathfinder. So anyway, I'm not gonna get into that drama. It seems like D&D is saved, so don't panic. But really loving Pathfinder, and my kids loved it too. So I kind of want to go over what is in this product here. So it comes with all this stuff here. Like, it comes with like everything you need to get started, which is awesome. So it has this little pamphlet. It's like, read this first, which is kind of gives you a little breakdown. And even if you're just playing by yourself, it has like a little solo adventure that you can kind of do, which introduces you to the game, which was useful for me because I was the GM and I made lots of mistakes, but I did the little solo adventure first, and that helped me out quite a bit to get the mechanics. It comes with these little cards here, these reference cards, which give you some insight as to like what actions and stuff you can do, and also on the back there's like a list of common conditions that you can inflict or be afflicted with, and really cool. Comes with 4 pre-made characters. And it kind of, you can see it says play a fighter if you want to like fight on the front lines. It kind of gives you a breakdown of what every what the characters are good at. So when we played, my youngest played the fighter. He liked the fighter. My oldest played Ezrin, and initially I was also just playing Kyra. That way they had a healer as well as being the GM. And then we also threw in Mauriciel as well, and my oldest was controlling 2 characters, which he thought was pretty cool. But you don't need to do that. We just did that because it was fun, so we did it because we wanted to. Comes with a hero's handbook for the players and a beginner game master guide for the actual GM, yours truly. And it gives you a really cool adventure. You can see this big mat that it's laying on. This is actually a 2-sided battle map. It's like huge. You can see it takes up most of, like, almost all my dining room table there. And it comes with these pawns. These sheets of characters here. They're little cardboard things that you can punch out. And at the bottom left, in this little Ziploc baggie I put in, there's the pawn platform. So you can actually set up these pawns on the board, and like as soon as I rolled out this battle map and set like the hero pawns on the board, my son was in. My youngest was like, "This is awesome. This is great," and he was so pumped, and he was excited. He really enjoyed the fighter. Playing with a 10-year-old is pretty fun, especially as a first-time GM in this game. He really challenged me to not try to cramp a player's style. So if he wants to roll to do a backflip for no reason during combat, I let him make an acrobatics check. And if he critically failed, then he like scorpions like those fail army videos. It was fantastic. So these cards that it comes with, this is like a close-up picture, sorry for the glare, but it really gives you kind of cool stuff, and it has like these little trackers that you can track your actions, because you get 3 actions per turn, and then you get a reaction for certain cases. And these are things that you can kind of do on your turn, as well as whatever spells and stuff your character has. And then the back side of it lists a bunch of the common conditions and stuff for the game. So it kind of gives you a little insight as to those, and it refers you to the hero's handbook for some of the other ones. So unconscious or wounded, like your GM's going to be walking you through that. So good stuff, though. I really like that. The pre-made character sheets were really cool too, because it already has everything filled out for you, and once you can see it's got like highlighted in red like the common things you're going to be doing. So hit points, what's your movement speed, what's your perception, what's your armor class, what's your plus to attack with your weapons. All these are like what's your saving throws. These are all quick things that my sons were able to quickly pick up, and it didn't slow gameplay down that much. I was expecting gameplay to be slow anyway, because, you know, we're all learning a new system. My boys had never done any tabletop stuff before. You know, they had heard about Dungeons and Dragons and stuff like that. You know, I've got some of the Dungeons and Dragons books, but it never really got to them, because they're more of like, you know, visual stuff. So the fact that the beginner box gave us all this stuff to put on the table, like visual representations of what's going on, I think the learning the game system, as well as like introducing them to the concept of theater of the mind, was a bit too much. So, but the beginner box just takes care of all that stuff for you. It's amazing. I love it. I have best $30 I've spent in a while. Let me say that. But yeah, really impressed with how the character sheets work. They also came with you know, this dice code here. So if we go back to the first picture, you can see I got a little bag of dice here that it comes with. I didn't use that because I had a whole like chest full of dice that I just used. So I just let the boys pick their own dice, and then they were able to figure it out pretty painlessly. And I think that worked out pretty well. But the character sheet, super cool. I love how everything is laid out. For every character, you know, it shows like what their what equipment and stuff they have. It shows some of their abilities. So for the fighter here, you can see they have they're carrying a shield, so they can raise an action, or they can use an action to raise their shield and get a +2 circumstance bonus to their armor class until the start of their next turn. And also they can use their reaction to shield block if they have it raised. So that was super cool. My son was tanking everything, man. He was like, just hit me. It was great. He loved it. Super cool. I'm really impressed with how they did that. It also comes with, I don't know if I have it shown on here. It also comes with like 6 or 7 character sheets that you can fill out yourself. So when it came time to level up the heroes, I ended up writing out a new character sheet for all the heroes. That way we wouldn't like mark on these, because I wanted to like save this and keep it somewhat pristine for future playthroughs, like later on. Like, I'm thinking maybe I might just pass this down to my sons and they can play it with their kids one day, you know? So I wanted to keep it all kind of pristine. So, yeah, we did some pencil marking and stuff for the hit points and things like that, but for the most part, we used the blank character sheets and then filled those out. I did that for them because it was pretty boring and it was pretty complex for them, but, you know, that's the role of a GM for you, so good stuff. But super happy with how the stock character sheets work. The heroes were super cool. Valeros was like a powerhouse at level 1 because fighters are just godly. Kyra, the cleric, or Kira, I don't know how you pronounce it. We just pronounced it Kyra. She was great. I played her, and I kept my peeps alive for the most part, and it was really cool. I liked playing her. My son, my oldest, played Ezrin, and it was a lot to take in for like the spellcaster, but he had fun. I made a few bad calls to where I made things way overpowered, more than they should have been. So, for example, like he took a spell called Acid Splash, and at one point he rolled like a natural 20, or he got a critical success on an attack, and I ended up like saying, yeah, everybody takes the full damage, and then also everybody also takes the persistent damage. And after reading the spell again, that wasn't how it's supposed to go, because it's just a cantrip. So, but hey, I made some cool memories, and yeah, good stuff. Well worth it. So the pawns, these are really cool. So it comes with these pawns that you can pull out, and they just go on these little bases, and there's pawns in there for everything you need. And also beyond the starter adventure, there's a whole bunch of like other monsters and stuff in there too. So if you wanted to go and add in your own flavor and stuff like that, you have the ability to do all that stuff. So they also have, you know, if you wanted to make your own character as opposed to sticking with the pre-made characters, they have like different models for the 4 classes that are included: the fighter, the rogue, the wizard and then the cleric. So you can be like a dwarf, or you could be an elf, or you could be an orc, or like whatever. Like they have those included. And there's a whole bunch of monsters, and in the little GM guide they give you towards the back, there's like a bunch of monsters that have a bunch of quick stats, which were super helpful, because when we got to the very last boss, I'm not going to spoil anything for anybody, but when we got to the last boss, we got our butts kicked and we had to run away. And so what I did is I said, like, okay, well, we went back and we told the powers that be that, hey, there's a big bad down there, and we need help. And so I ended up taking the two the male and female fighter pawns, the generic ones, and I added those in and said that these were guards, and I gave them like a stat block of like an orc warrior or something like that, and they got obliterated pretty quick, but they were enough of a damage sponge to let the heroes get the job done and make it happen. So super cool with how that worked out. I'm glad that it gave me all the tools I needed to do all of that. And the adventure itself is laid out super well. It's I wouldn't recommend like reading it on the fly. If you are the GM, I recommend, you know, reading the encounters first. That way you have a idea of what's going to happen, to avoid some awkwardness like I ran into, to where, you know, I was supposed to maybe keep one baddie alive so that they can give some information to the player, and I just totally skipped that. And I was like, oh, let me add in some other NPC that just stumbles upon, oh my god, what happened here? And then they get taken prisoner, and then they give the information. So, you know, it'll be a lot more fun if you, as the GM, already kind of know how the adventure is going to go. That way you can just keep things going along smoothly, because there was a few times where it's like, oh, hang on, let me read what's going to happen. And I sit there and I read for like, you know, a minute or two, and then my son starts rolling dice because he's getting bored, you know, antsy 10-year-old. But hey, super fun. I can't talk highly enough about this. It was so good. And the best part is, like, when you're done playing with them, you can these pawns you can just put right back in the boards, and you can keep them nice and neat. So I just put everything back the way it was and just stuck it back in the beginner box, and it's ready to go for the next playthrough. It's like cool. I could just like put them in like I could punch them all out and put them in a big Ziploc baggie, but I found it was a lot easier to actually search and find the pawns I needed if they're all put in the right place. So I thought that was amazing too. Super cool. And yeah, so that was my experience with the beginner box. Just super impressed. I love everything about this. I can tell that just love and passion of gaming was put into this when they created this product, and it's just, it really shows. Like, it gives you everything you need. If I was to give this a rating, I would say it's a 9 out of 10. The only reason why it's not a 10 out of 10 is because there's like there's some typos and stuff in the various handbooks. Like for the GM one, I remember there was an encounter that said I was supposed to have 4 enemies, and then like on the stat block it said like, you know, enemy, and then in parentheses it had 3. Like I was only supposed to have 3 enemies. So that was a bit confusing. And then just, you know, just miscellaneous typos and things like that. I think somebody pointed out that there was a problem with one of the characters to where one of the stats wasn't quite right. I didn't run into that. I just went with what was given to us, and it ran pretty smooth. But yeah, fantastic. And now now my boys are like super eager to make like characters and start on like a real adventure. So we started we looked on this site called Pathfinder, and this lets you just make characters, and you just kind of go from the top left and then just work your way down. So you pick what your ancestry is, you pick your background, you pick your class, you set your abilities, set your skills, any extra stuff needs to happen, you set your heritage and any feats, and then any class specific stuff, and then you can you know, you can buy gear and stuff like that. And the cool thing about this is that once you're done, if you want to export this to a character sheet, bam, look at that. I now have a character sheet. And then I can take this and I can just send this to my printer, or I can just use it on a PDF on like a tablet or whatever, and I'll have it here. Super cool. So when my boys started making characters, one of them, my oldest picked an inventor, and then my youngest picked a gunslinger, which is part of the Guns and Gears book that I don't have yet. So I told him, okay, well, let's make some characters that are only part of the core rule book, because I also managed to snag that. So then we decided that it'd be kind of fun to do like an all goblin group. So we made goblins. So I've got Scriggles Wildfang. He's a goblin druid. That's going to be fun. I think my oldest can play a goblin barbarian, and then I think my youngest is going to be a rogue. I don't remember what he picked for his goblin. He was all over the place, man. He was having fun. But yeah, just I'm super impressed with the beginner box, and then also moving onward our adventures that we're going to have from there. Looking forward to that too. So just really, really excited with with this, and the fact that the beginner box gets you started and gives you, it gives you enough to get in there and then get familiar with the system and make it fun. And then you can go and make your own stuff, because, I've got the D&D books. I've got the player's handbook and the dungeon guide or the dungeon master guide. And it was a bit daunting for me to try to make my own adventure and learn the system and all that stuff. But the beginner box just gets you right into it. So quick note about the Pathfinder book is that I was a bit surprised at how thick it is. And this was because how Pathfinder does it, the core rule book is basically the D&D equivalent of the player's handbook and the dungeon master guide in one book. So that's why it's so thick and meaty. Like if you look at the two books here, they're just about the same thickness. Like if you take out the extra cardboard there, they're about the same thickness. So really cool. Anyway, thank you all so much for watching this. I just wanted to make a video on it because it was so fun, and I'm blown away at the thought and care put into this product, and I highly recommend it if you ever want to get into tabletop gaming, like something like Dungeons and Dragons. I think this is even way better than the actual Dungeons and Dragons beginner kit or whatever they call it. I think their beginner kit's like $15 or $20, and it doesn't have near the stuff that this does. So yeah, I'm just so happy with this product, and highly recommend it. Let me know in the comments if you guys have any questions about it. I'll be happy to answer them, and thank you so much for watching.